After major success in Japan and growing to be a worldwide hit, Dragon Ball is definitely a founder of the shonen genre of anime and manga. But there's an underlying question: what is it that inspired Dragon Ball? Well, on this episode of Dragon Ball Lore 101, we delve into that exact question. Let's get into it. What is the inspiration behind Dragon Ball? Serialized in 1984 in the Weekly Shonen Jump magazine and first airing in Japan in 1986, the original Dragon Ball grew to be a cultural phenomenon over in the land of the rising sun after the tremendous success of Akira Toriyama's previous work, Dr. Slump. One of the most interesting and awe-inspiring pieces of the Dragon Ball work is just how many different pieces of culture from all walks of life inspired Toriyama into making Dragon Ball what it was back in the 1980s. The most well-known and notable inspiration that is known by most fans is the Chinese novel written in 1592 by Wu Cheng'en, The Journey to the West. The Journey to the West's inspiration towards Dragon Ball is loose at best, with the most obvious comparison being between both of the main protagonists, with Son Goku being based off of the Monkey King, Sun Wukong. Both are martial artists who possess ungodly and incredible strength, and also wield extendable bow staff-like weapons, with Sun Wukong wielding the Ruyi Jingu Bang and Goku wielding the ever-famous Power Pole. While Sun Wukong is physically a monkey, the use of Goku's tail as a means of transforming into an Ozaru or a Great Ape in a full moon is likely taking inspiration from Sun Wukong. Goku and Wukong also use a keen tone cloud, otherwise known as the Nimbus Cloud in Dragon Ball, as a means of transportation. The similarities between Goku and Wukong don't end at the point of physical appearance and material possessions. Sun Wukong gives himself the title of the Qishang Dasheng, which translates from Chinese to equaling Heaven Great Sage in English or to Seiten Taisei in Japanese. This title was given to him by himself and is mainly to uphold his own ego of wanting to be the best there is in the world, a lot like how Goku always wants to fight the strongest and beat the strongest throughout Dragon Ball and its successors. As a fun fact to note as well is that when Sun Wukong is romanized in Japanese, it becomes Son Goku. Very fitting, isn't it? There are numerous throwbacks to the Journey to the West scattered throughout Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z's lifetime, with Goku, Piccolo, Krillin and Gohan being depicted as characters in the novel in Daizenshu 1, as well as during the ending of the first 199 episodes of Dragon Ball Z's original Japanese dub, Detekoi Tobikiri Zenkai Power, where Gohan is shown to be wearing Sun Wukong's outfit in homage to Journey to the West. Not many other characters are based solely off of characters from the Journey to the West. Oolong is one of these characters, who in early sketches of his character was a large fat pig wielding a large war rake, being based off of the character Zhu Baijie. Ten Shin Han and Chaozu are also thought to be based off Erlan Sheng, a three-eyed being who is the nephew of the Jade Emperor, and Nezha, a white, baby-like god, who are both sent to put an end to Sun Wukong, much like how Ten Shin Han and Chaozu were sent to stop Goku during the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai arc. It can also be argued that the search for the legendary Buddhist scriptures by Shangzang and his company is what inspired the first arc of Dragon Ball, with Goku and Bulma searching for the legendary Dragon Balls. The sense of adventure is what drives this point home the most. However, after the first couple of arcs of Dragon Ball, the inspirations faded into obscurity and the series started to become its own entity, with the touches of the Journey to the West becoming more and more scarce as the series went on. But Goku's monkey origin, use of the Power Pole and Nimbus Cloud, and his incredible power will always stand as a testament and a homage to what this series was once inspired by. It would surprise many that some aspects of the original Dragon Ball were actually inspired by, and in some cases ripped entirely from, Toriyama's 1980 manga, Dr. Slump, the original manga that fueled Toriyama's rise to fame. Muten Roshi's design is a complete rip from God's design in Dr. Slump, and to fit with that, in both Dr. Slump and Dragon Ball's Japanese anime adaptations, they are both voiced by Kohei Miyauchi. Despite not being entirely confirmed, there are major physical similarities between Yamcha and Dr. Slump's Sukutsun Sun. Dr. Slump's influence over Dragon Ball isn't limited to inspiration, as during chapters 81, 82 and 83 of the Dragon Ball manga and episodes 55, 56 and 57 of the anime, Goku manages to chase General Blue to Penguin Village, the setting behind Dr. Slump, where Goku meets Arale-chan, one of the main characters behind Dr. Slump. This isn't the last appearance of Arale in Dragon Ball, as she also appears in Dragon Ball Movie 3, A Mystical Great Adventure, as well as in Dragon Ball Super Episode 43, Goku's ki is out of control, lots of trouble taking care of Pan, and also appears again in Dragon Ball Super Episode 69, Goku vs Arale, the Earth comes to an end due to their battle. With the Journey to the West and Dr. Slump being two of the major Eastern influences on Toriyama when creating Dragon Ball, they aren't limited to that, as there is a few more things that inspired aspects of Dragon Ball coming from the East. For example, it is heavily implied that the Orange Sky Golden Harvest's 1978 introductory screen for their movies is what inspired the introductory screen for the Tenkaichi Budokai tournaments in Dragon Ball. Here's a side-by-side comparison of both screens in action. Chinese martial arts influence doesn't end there, as the entire Tenkaichi Budokai seems to be inspired by Chinese martial arts tournaments. Despite being called the World Martial Arts Tournament in the dub of Dragon Ball, as well as being translated to such in other forms of sub-Dragon Ball media, Toriyama actually used Tenkaichi Budokai as a homage to Chinese culture. Tenkaichi translates from Japanese to Chinese as the number one under heaven, and Budokai translating to Martial Arts Practitioners Gathering, putting them together to give the number one under heaven martial arts gathering, which gives a lot more weight to the cultural significance Toriyama was trying to display, as stated in Derek Padula's Dragon Ball Culture series. The Lei-Tai platform is the inspiration for the ring used in Tenkaichi Budokai's fights throughout Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. The Lei-Tai is a raised fighting platform that was used in ancient Chinese culture, where the two opponents would attempt to knock each other out, throw each other off the edge of the Lei-Tai, or simply fight to the death. The Tenkaichi Budokai also has a very similar fighting system to that of the Lei-Tai. The tournament starts with the preliminaries, in which fighters pick a random number. The opponents will then fight for a minute until one of them is knocked out. The fights will then continue to 8 quarter-finalists, giving 4 matches, and on to the semi-finals, and then to the finals where a winner is then declared. The Muscle Tower in the Red Ribbon Army arc of Dragon Ball is heavily inspired by Bruce Lee's 1978 movie Game of Death, where Bruce Lee's character, Hai Tien, must climb a pagoda, a traditional South Asian building, with the one in Game of Death having 5 floors, defeating one fighter with every floor he goes up. Goku has to fight more fighters than that and go through 7 floors instead of 5, but the inspiration is still shown. Toriyama is also a major fan of Jackie Chan, going so far as to name Muten Roshi's disguise during the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai Jackie Chun, in tribute to the legendary actor. There aren't as many inspirations on the western side of the world in comparison to the east that pertain to the original Dragon Ball, most of which pertain to the Dragon Ball Z. One of the most obvious inspirations is from Android 8's design, which is heavily implied to have taken inspiration from, or even stolen, from the 1931 movie by James Whale, Frankenstein. See the resemblance? It's uncanny. How about the fact that Goku can transform into an Azure in the presence of a full moon? This is likely a homage to the old European folklore of lycanthropy, or more colloquially known as werewolves, where under a full moon, a man who has been put under a curse will turn him into an anthropomorphic wolf creature, very akin to Goku's transformation. It's no surprise that with the popularity and reach of Dragon Ball, it has inspired mangakas, animators and directors alike, and either directly or indirectly influenced the creation of many well-known and renowned anime, manga and cartoon series. Masashi Kishimoto and Eiichiro Oda are two of the most famous mangaka who have directly came out and said that Akira Toriyama and his work on Dragon Ball is what inspired both of them to create Naruto and One Piece respectively, with many different aspects of both anime being heavily inspired by Dragon Ball, from transformations to characters and even with references back to Dragon Ball. Gintama is another series that is very famous and is heavily, but also indirectly, influenced by Dragon Ball, with its countless references to Dragon Ball, like with characters all wanting to be Krillin, Kagura going Super Saiyan, and the parody characters such as Buriza and Zell. And that's not all of the references, as there are an absolute abundance in Gintama. Dragon Ball's influence isn't limited to anime over in the East, as it has spread over across the globe to even the Western cartoons many of us may have grown up with. Remember that time Schnitzel went Super Saiyan in the cartoon Chowder? Or what about that time in Steven Universe when Steven and Connie walked past a room in an episode Nightmare Hospital where Patient 20 is suspiciously called Dr. Garou, a direct reference to the fact that he was known as Android 20 in Dragon Ball Z. These are just two of the abundant references and cameos of Dragon Ball in popular culture and media over here in the West. One of the most popular and iconic pieces of media that is heavily influenced by Dragon Ball, arguably the most influenced, is Sonic the Hedgehog. Don't believe me? Take Super Sonic. Super Sonic's fur turns to be gold, much like Super Saiyan's hair. He has a yellow aura, much like Super Saiyan, and gains an immense boost in power, much like Super Saiyan. Or take Shadow, the rugged anti-hero of Sonic, who starts off as an enemy but soon becomes a hero and a friend of Sonic and his team. Sound familiar? Or take Silver, a time-travelling being who comes back to the past in order to protect the future. I'm sorry Silver, but Trunks got there first. One of the most obvious influences is the fact that there are 7 mysterious and powerful jewels known as the Chaos Emeralds. And while they don't work the same as the 7 Dragon Balls, it's obvious that the inspiration was taken from the powerful wish-granting orbs. But that wraps up this episode of Dragon Ball Lore 101. If you learned anything that you didn't already know about the original Dragon Ball and different pieces of the culture from across the globe that inspired the world of the original Dragon Ball, please be sure to leave a like down below. It only takes 1 second of your time and really helps my channel out with the new algorithm changes on YouTube. Please be sure to also leave a comment on your thoughts on this video, as well as suggestions for the next episode of Dragon Ball Lore 101. Please share this amongst your friends. I've been AzureAce, and thank you for coming to the video.
You have arrived. I'm here to tell you that if you don't subscribe to AzureAce for Dragon Ball, Kingdom Hearts, and Pokemon TCG content, you will wander forever in the darkness of your heart.